Well, what are you doing? Surely you've got time to change the world. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to change the world.
It's time for another show from Colin Jones, the Reasonable Adventurer. Time for you to take another step towards creating your own opportunities for satisfaction.
And it is a huge welcome to you all to episode 72. And yes, today with the Reasonable Adventurer, we're going to change the world. I'm very confident, very confident that if you take the time to tune in and really listen to what we're going to talk about today, that you can change the world too. And I suppose if we were philosophers, we might start by saying, well, how do you define the world? That would be the question. Because my world's not the same as your world. And your world's not the same as the person down the corridor from your world. And that's the key. The key to today's conversation is getting you to think about, what is the world? You know, you turn on the news of a night time and you see all this misery and just terrible stuff happening around the world. It's actually been happening ever since we were around. It's just that now it's been videoed and reproduced at such a rapid rate that we are constantly surrounded by it. I'm not so sure there's any more misery in the world today than there was 40 years ago. It's just that we didn't see that misery, but we do now. But anyway, how do we change the world? And we want to change the world for the better, don't we? We don't want to regress things. We don't want to move things backwards. We don't want to make ourselves worse off. As I've been telling you over the last few episodes, I'm so close at the moment to having finished my book. So I've just sent off my last, the glossary of terms. You know, when you get into the end with that, I've sent that off and just get some feedback from my co-author on that. And then, essentially, it's ready to go to the publisher. So it's pretty exciting. And it's nice going through the glossary of terms gives you an opportunity to just zero in on some of the key terminologies that have been used through the book to try and actually carry through this message of how it is that firms manage to persist. So we're not particularly worried about why some firms may be deemed to be more successful than other firms. We're just interested in why they persist. And I'm also interested in why you persist. And I'm not talking about continuing to try to do something, but how it is that you continue to manage to exist, to maintain your relationship with the environments within which you operate. And I think that's the key that I want to talk about today, and that I want to get you to sort of, and you may need a cup of coffee or something stronger to sort of really absorb some of these ideas. But the key thing is here is we all have the capacity to change it, the world we live in, right? If only we could quarantine that world, if only we could actually make sense of that world, yeah? Because when we turn on the news, we see the world. Now, the world, none of us can change, you know. It's too big, it's too complex, it's beyond us. But our world, well, we can definitely change that. Absolutely no doubt about it at all, right? We may not be able to solve every problem in our world, but we can certainly change it, right? Absolutely. So I wanted to run through a few ideas with you that I've been working on in relation to firms, because I see a direct parallel between how any individual operates in society and the ideas that we've put together in relation to firms. And there shouldn't be any reason why we can't simply contemplate how those ideas roll across and how you can change that world you live in. This is one of the motivations for writing the book, I suppose, because one of the problems we have is that it makes sense to talk about firms from an ecological sense, because we know that all firms exist in an environment that they interact with, that there are processes of selection that they're exposed to and alter, that may favour them or not favour them. So we have all the ingredients of an ecological explanation right there. The problem we've had, of course, is that in the past, when we've wanted to use an ecological approach to studying firms, we use things like populations, communities, competition as being really critical factors in the way that we actually set up that explanation. Now, this can be quite problematic, because if you think about it, if I was to sort of group you and think about the street you live in and group you with all of the other people on that street, and I say, okay, well, everyone who lives in that street must experience something, you'd most probably tell me straight away, no, not really. No, actually, our next door neighbours don't have anything that's very comparable to us at all. They're billionaires, you know. They won the lotto and they never have any financial concerns. We do. Ah, okay. What about the people on the other side of you? No, they've been very unlucky. Their health is very bad. The whole family. They're constantly in hospital, having operations and trying to sort of just keep themselves above water. Ah, okay. So when we group people together on some basis of the location or the assumption, you know, they all go to a church. So everyone who goes to that church is similar. But we sort of know that's not the case. It's the same with firms. Grouping firms together and assuming that they experience something similar assumes that they're all the same and assumes that they experience the same environment. Our book makes the claim, I believe very strongly, that firms aren't the same, and even if they were, they don't experience the same environment, and that's actually part of the reason why they're not the same. It's the same for us. We're not the same as the person next to us, and we don't experience the same environment. The challenge, of course, is trying to understand what is our environment, just as it is for a firm. So, in the case of the firms, and my challenge here today for us is I'm going to sort of keep moving backwards and forwards between firms that I'm going to use as analogous to you, right? Hopefully that'll help me. If you can understand what I'm talking about with these firms, hopefully you're going to be able to make sense of you, all right? So you're going to be the firm, okay? And there are certain things that a firm can change that you can't. You can't change your skeleton. You can't do much about that at all. You can't change much about your organisation. You know, the way your heart relates to your kidneys and your brain, that's all been determined for you, right? Whereas organisations do have a lot of flexibility about the form that they use and the structure and how that is organised. So putting that to one side, though, putting that to one side, firms also have lots of choices about what sort of functions they're going to use to exist, and more importantly, what activities they'll use to interact. And that's very similar with ourselves. We also have a lot of choices about how we'll interact in society, whether we'll talk to people or not talk to people, whether we'll wear leery, bright-coloured clothing or fit in with the norms of society. We make lots of choices that can be selected for and selected against. But the key thing is here, selected by what? If I stand outside my house tomorrow and I yell obscenities and stand there naked and generally make a fool of myself, is anybody in Argentina going to be offended by this? Is anyone in Paraguay or Indonesia or Greenland, are any of the people there going to be offended? Well, it's possible now, isn't it? Because someone may have a phone and they may put it on Facebook or they may put it on YouTube. So it's possible that somewhere along the line someone may get offended. But not at that moment in time, right? But clearly people in my direct neighbourhood could. Because I'm related to them, right? My daily comings and goings are related to those people in ways, right? Not overly, but in some ways. For a firm, when we want to try and understand the nature of its environment, what we're arguing in our book is that it makes sense to think about how is the firm or what is the firm operationally related to, right? So if I'm selling brakes for cars, right, and I just happen to, live in a society where everyone decides that they want to ride a bicycle, this would be not good for me, right? Clearly one of the key ingredients in my environment, that is ownership of a car, has been disrupted, and that's not going to be good for me. Alternatively, if the government had said, we believe that a major source of car accidents is faulty brakes, and we're going to give everyone a $100 cash bonus that they can spend with any certified brake specialist to get their car checked out. That could be very, very good for me. All of a sudden, everybody wants to spend this $100 credit with me to get their brakes checked out. Yeah. So, understanding what does and doesn't matter in terms of how you're related to the environment is really important. So, in our book, we talk about this notion of an operational environment, the things that we are operationally related to. Now, the key part of this is that we recognize that there is this other thing we call the environment. It's that thing you see on TV every night, right? That's a really vague, massive, abstract thing that seems to contain everything. Well, we can rule that out. Once we've ruled in what we're actually related to, then anything else isn't in our environment. Now, there may be some things in that environment we are dismissing, which may in the future, which could be in 2 minutes' time or in 10 years' time, which may come to be relevant to us. And so we would provisionally call those things that may exist in our potential environment. So it's something that we're mindful of going forward, right? When we're thinking about things that may change, but they're not directly related to us today, but they may be in the future, right? But overall, there's a lot of stuff out there that we just really need to stop worrying about. We can't change it, right? It doesn't change us because we don't have that operational relation to it. And everything in the past, we're just going to call that our operational history for the firm. It's your history too, right? You can't go back and change it. It most probably doesn't have a huge bearing on your future, right? But it's part of your timeline. We all have a timeline. There were things we did when we were in school which matter to us now. Just like there are things that firms do when they start up, which will imprint an ability or a capacity to do certain things. So it's very much the same. Some of us are sort of stuck not being able to spell or write very well because we didn't do things as well as we should have when we were in school. And we could always play catch up on that if we wished, but I suppose it depends on, do we need to, right? Is it part of what we need for our future requirements going forward? The key critical thing with all of this is that once we've really thought through what is our operational environment, I haven't really worked out a perfect word that we would use for individuals, for you, but let's just call it a relevant environment, right? The things that are relevant to you, the space that you operate and interact with. Once you've worked that out, now you've got this really tight set of things that you can try to make some difference. Now, you can't change them all. I mean, you get paid under an award structure, which might be a federal award. Well, you may not be able to change that. But what you can do, if you really don't like it, is you can change your job, right? Or you can say, you know what, I'll get that income. It's not really what I want, but I'll do something else on the side. So there are lots of different ways that you can change the environment that you operate in. You can change the way you interact with people. So maybe there are people that you've grown tired of, bored with, annoyed with. You can change the way you interact with them, right? You can try and change the nature of what we call coaction with them so that maybe there's a way of trying to engineer a positive outcome for them at the same time as trying to engineer a positive outcome for you. Not always easy to do, but why not try? Why not try to do that? the key here is that once you start to become aware, intricately aware of the environment that you interact with, you start to see the opportunities of what it actually is that you could and couldn't alter. What are the things that you could do to change things, right? If you catch a train every morning, right, it's the same train and largely the same people. Well, rather than having your head buried down between your knees looking at your iPad or something or staring out the window, you could just say good morning to a few people. Now, before you know it, you might strike up a conversation. Before you know it, that conversation may be something that you look forward to in the morning. There are so many different ways in which we can change the nature of that environment we interact with. The train can be a solo journey, or it could actually be a social journey. Yeah? Now, one of the really challenging things for us all is that it's easy to think that we largely are on the receiving end of an environment. You know, there are a lot of constraints in life, and there are. I'm not trying to pretend there's not. But not everything in life is a constraint. It's up to you really to sort of work through and sort of test those boundaries and try to make sense of the things that can't be changed and the things that can be changed, right? You put out things, right? Think of a firm. A firm has interacting elements. It has its people, it has its technologies, it has its services, it has its products, and it has a reputation. Those things interact on a daily basis with its end users, the stakeholders that it interacts with. It's either going to receive positive feedback through people talking positively about things, buying, supporting the nature of that organisation, or it's not. And when it's not getting the positive, the degree, the level of positive response back that it wants in whatever manner, it has an opportunity. It can change any of those interacting elements, any of them, right? And it can change the things within the organisation that produces them, right? This is not easy to do, and it assumes that the organisation actually understands the nature of the environment it's interacting with. Now, clearly some firms are very good, at being able to stay close and understand the nature of what's being accepted and not being accepted in their operational environment. So where are you at? How do you interact with the nature of your environment? Do you fully understand it? What is it that you put out that you interact with the world? Right? There's your manner, the way you talk to people, the way you accept people, right? One of the things that I've been amazed since I've come to Queensland is I'm just in that nice sweet spot where everybody gets the benefit of the doubt, where everybody can be treated with respect because no one's bashing you up, because you don't have anyone chasing you. It's a wonderful little experience. Now, it may not stay like that, but why shouldn't it? Why shouldn't it? If I give back sufficient respect to people and listen to people, why shouldn't that come back my way? Yeah? It's easy to dig a hole for yourself. It's easy to find yourself seeing the reasons why you shouldn't cooperate or work with people. But that's just one of those interacting elements that you put out there, isn't it? What about the way you communicate on social media? Are you a cynic? Or are you a supporter? Right? Could you change to be more of one or of the other? Would there be an advantage to that? Right? Do you make comments or do you ask questions? Right? Do you actually want someone to engage with you and have that conversation? So look, the whole point really of what I'm sort of trying to hint at here is that you can change it. There's a lot of things you can change, but you have to understand what it is. What is the nature of the environment that you interact with? Can you actually make sense of that? What are the things that you see? I'll give you a classic example. A couple of celebrities, well known, I can't be bothered talking about them. They're going to look like they're going to get a divorce. I haven't clicked on any of the links, even though that's just bombarding on the news sites. with just pointless stories about these people. Why? It doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean I'm not actually interested in it. And I don't want to get sucked into that world of listening to someone speculate about someone's reason for not wanting to be together, or what that might mean, or this or that. So there are a lot of things that we don't have to interact with. And indeed, it really is a one-way street on that sort of stuff. No one cares if you do or you don't. I could put my time somewhere else and use it in a much more productive way. So where are you at with that? What are the things that you actually spend your time on, your consideration of, your interaction with? Are they things that you can profitably try to change, that you can try to invest time in to actually develop better relationships with people? Is there a skill set that you're ignoring that you sort of know you most probably are going to need? Is there a way of being able to build that up? The world that you live in is not the world that I live in, right? I remember reading this wonderful quote, and it said, two people are sitting in a room, and are they sharing the same environment? And of course, the obvious answer is yes, they must be. They're in the same room. But one person has a knife, and the other doesn't. And the person with the knife looks a little bit crazy, yeah? Got those crazy eyes. So, are they sharing the same environment? Well, clearly they're not, are they? One person's sitting there and they're scared. The environment makes them feel very tense, very scared. The other person doesn't feel scared, doesn't feel tense, right? And this is the key. Just because we're grouped together in a particular location or a particular area or doing a similar type of thing doesn't mean that we experience the same environment. Your challenge, as is mine, as is everybody, is to try and work out what's relevant to you in the world that you live in that you could try to change, that you could try to modify so that it's in your favour, so that things are actually happening for you rather than against you. So, that's my challenge for you. See if you can change it. Yeah? See if you can make the changes required to change aspects, those factors in the world that you interact with, by thinking about what it actually is that you do to interact. Until we talk again next week, I wish you all the best with your reflections. And next time you get on that train, say good day to someone.